Thank you very much. President Shirley and Chairman Taylor, suppose that you had dictatorial powers. What would you do about the Bennett freeze? What would be your solution to the Bennett freeze issue? We'll begin with you, President Shirley.
I don't know if I want dictatorial powers, Senator.
Some say the President of the Navajo Nation is close to it. But seriously, in other words, if you had a magic wand and said, okay, this is the way we settle the Bennett freeze. This is important because we're going to try to address that issue.
I hear of a time, Senator, when the Hopi Nation and the Navajo Nations lived together harmoniously. I guess I'd like to get back to that. I know many of our children are intermarried. Many of the Navajo people are married to Hopi people, and so we have children who are Hopi and Navajo. And I think also with the Hopi Nation. And I think we're the two nations at this point in time. I'm working with Chairman Taylor with the council to try to resolve just that, the Bennett freeze. And having resolved it, hopefully we begin to see the harmonious relationship that has gotten away from us, and to begin to develop our lands the way we should. That's what I'd like to see.
You'd like to see it lifted?
Yes, I'd like to see it lifted, sir. I think that's what we need.
Chairman Taylor.
Chairman McCain, the 1934 Land Settlement Act is in litigation between the two tribes, as you well know. We have been waiting on the district court to pick this matter back up, and we have waited for a very long time. And it is still on the docket. What we have done,
let me ask you this. Suppose we lifted the Bennett freeze tomorrow. What do you think would ensue on the Bennett freeze? Would it be chaos? Would it be people trying to move in on other people's land? Would it be what do you think would happen?
Chairman McCain, in fact, what I was getting ready to say,
I'm sorry.
We have been in negotiations and, in fact, have reached agreement and have developed a compact which would settle this lawsuit. And, in fact, the Hopi Tribal Council has already ratified this agreement, and we're awaiting on Navajo Council to do likewise.
And the provisions of that, and roughly the outlines of that agreement would be?
Yep. The lands have been largely partitioned. What is remaining, Chairman McCain, are in the case of Hopi, the sacred sites, the religious sites that we have remaining on the Navajo 34 areas. We want those areas to be protected, and we want to have access to all those areas so that we can continue to practice our religious duties and responsibilities.
President Shirley, your version of this compact?
We are very diligently working together, the two nations, to come to agreement about the compact, sir. And I think if we can continue to do that, I think in short order we will have that agreement. The Navajo Nation Council has been apprised of it. They're looking at it, and I think this God, willing, we will have an agreement
within a year.
Given caution, I'd like to see it within a year.
Chairman McCain, again, the Hopi Tribal Council has already approved the compact. We're anxious to see it happen this year. That would, in effect, also lift the Bennett freeze.
Mr. Attorney General, do you have a comment on that?
Thank you, Senator. The terms of the compact are subject to the confidentiality agreement. Unfortunately, we can't really divulge the details, and it involves a senior judge of the Ninth Circuit District Court, or the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, as the mediator, and he also signed on to the confidentiality agreement, so we're very cautious about that. It's impossible to predict when the two tribes will carve out the final terms. Where, like we said, it could be this year, it could be next year. That's the best we can say, but we will look forward to the assistance of the United States, not only the Department of Interior, Fish and Wildlife, and the United States Senate, in helping us resolve this quite in the near future, I hope.
Well, I don't have to tell any of the witnesses that it's a national shame and disgrace, the conditions that exist in the Bennett Freeze area, and it's long overdue that we addressed it, and I hope that that this compact or agreement may be consummated as soon as possible so we can let those people get on with some kind of development. President Shirley, so keep us informed, would you? Paragon Ranch in New Mexico was purchased with the intent that the coal reserves would generate revenues that would in turn reimburse the Navajo Rehabilitation Trust Fund. It's my understanding there's no coal resources that are producing. What do you intend to do with this land?
I'll go ahead and have our Attorney General answer that,
okay.
Sir. Thank
sure.
you.
Whichever.
Honorable Senator, the land has not been transferred to us at this point in time because of appeals by the existing owners of the preference right lease applications, and it's not for lack of effort on our part, but those have been appeals within the Bureau of Land Management and the involved litigation. For those reasons, we still haven't acquired the resources, and when we do get the resources, then we can look at the opportunities available for the development of the coal resources. But it's something that is ongoing. There's a separate bill, as you are aware, through the Natural Resource Committee of the Senate to try and resolve that issue at this time.
Mr. BITSUIE, $16 million was appropriated for the Rehabilitation Trust Fund. I understand that after the conceptual framework was signed, these funds went into an interest-bearing account that accrued an additional $8 million, and I understand that $11 million of that fund remains. The appropriations were made between 1990 and 95. Why has there been a 10-year delay in spending that money?
Mr. Chairman, the federal government loaned the Navajo Nation $16 million to fund the trust fund. We have spent on community housing and other similar projects about $15 to $16 million. But the original loan has also generated another $8 million in interest, which is roughly the unexpended amount remaining in the account. We are using the interest from the $8 million to fund further projects. The $8 million itself has been earmarked by the Navajo Nation for critical land purchases. Those land purchases have not been complete as the Navajo Nation is being extremely careful in seeking to acquire lands that will actually generate revenue for addressing the adverse impact of the land dispute for years to come. We are stretching out and maximizing the value of the trust fund. Land is very important in Navajo culture. For years, the policy of the federal government has been to increase tribal self-determination. In our judgment, we have appropriately allocated the resources from the trust fund. Mr. Chairman.
Well, in my view, you haven't. It was appropriated 10 and 15 years ago and has not been spent. I'm sure that if that had been the conditions under which it was appropriated, the money wouldn't have been appropriated. Mr. BITSUIE, the Land Commission received $1.5 million in 1998 from the trust fund to build or improve 48 replacement homes on the HPL. What's the status of this project? That's only been 7 years.
The Navajo Nation allocated $1.5 million from the trust fund for the construction of 48 homes on Hopi petition land. And under the accommodation agreement that has been entered between the Navajo Nation and the Hopi tribe, we were instructed to use or identify the land or have the land that are withdrawn for the accommodation signers to use the land within a certain period of time. so the money was made available. The $1.5 million only represents about half the cost of those homes. In an effort to stretch trust funds dollars, we reached an agreement with the Navajo Housing Services that they would provide labor. Unfortunately, for their own financial reasons, the Navajo Housing Services was not able to fulfill its contractual commitment. 6 homes were not built, but most of the other 42 have significant problems. The Navajo Nation recently have committed another $800,000 to fix the homes and complete the projects. When complete, the total cost of this project to the trust fund for 48 homes of $2.3 million is still a bargain. Today, it would cost about $100,000 per home, as was provided by the Relocation Commission, Mr. BAVASI. To build these homes, it would cost approximately $4.8 million. But we would complete the homes at a cost half of that amount, Mr. Chairman.
So if we waited another 20 years, it would probably cost $1 million per home. So we should wait longer. Is that the logic that you're giving me, Mr. BITSUIE?
We are on a time frame that we would complete the renovation of these homes by the end of this year, as well as the 6 homes that were not constructed, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Could I just ask, how often, President Shirley, do you and Chairman Taylor communicate with each other?
We communicate as often as is needed, sir, on the different issues, relative to the vendor fees or
so
whatever.
You have good lines of communication?
Yes, we do.
Chairman Taylor?
We do, Mr. Chairman, we do communicate quite frequently. This is just one of a number of issues that we're dealing with. We're working together to preserve the Mojave plant, which is a major part of the economic revenue stream for the 2 nations, and that also is another matter that takes tremendous amounts of our time, and we do work together with our teams on those projects.
I suggest that there's a lot of issues now, maybe more than in the past, that exist that are in the mutual interest of both tribes. As you mentioned, the Mojave power plant situation, housing, Bennett freeze, pending compacts between the 2 tribes, and I would suggest that you 2 schedule a regularly scheduled meeting, as happens between leaders that have issues of mutual interest, so that you can have an agenda, meet, and see what can be resolved and report back to the tribal councils and the Hopi and Navajo people. So it's my suggestion, given the number of issues that exist that are in mutual interest of both tribes, that you establish a set of regularly scheduled meetings between the 2 of you, at least in this period while we're addressing major issues that affect both tribes. I encourage it. I'm not saying that you must. I'm just saying that it would be helpful to us to know the agenda that both tribes are pursuing, Navajo Nation and the Hopi tribe are pursuing, in order to try to achieve some of these goals. I think I started this hearing, and maybe I should close it by saying that when Congress gets involved in issues such as a land dispute, many times the law of unintended consequences is going to prevail. And I don't think anyone thought that in 1974 that we would be sitting here 31 years later without some of these issues having been resolved. And I think that if in 1974, if the 2 tribal leaders had been able to sit down and negotiate these issues out, that we would be discussing other important and compelling issues like education, like health care, like housing. There's a number of issues that clearly the federal government has not fulfilled its responsibilities to either tribe, And I'd like to be able to put these issues behind us so that we can concentrate on providing proper health care, education, and housing to both tribes, which we all know is terribly lacking and behind the rest of the nation. Do you have any comment, Mr. Chairman Taylor?
Mr. Senator, I think you're very much on point. I couldn't agree with you more.
President Shirley.
Point well taken, sir. I totally agree.
It all, I think, is going to depend on, a lot of this is going to depend on the cooperation between the two of you elected leaders, and I'm pleased to see that this relationship has matured in a way that perhaps was not the case in previous administrations in both organizations. Mr. Attorney General, it's always a pleasure to see you again. Do you have any other comments you'd like to make?
I'm ready to leave for the Southwest.
Mr. BITSUIE.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much. We'll work very closely with you as we proceed on this issue. Thank you very much. This hearing is adjourned.
Thank you, sir.